is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, streaming on GuardianTalkRadio.com and the Guardian Radio app, Nassau, Bahamas. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the management and staff of Guardian Radio.
Happy Saturday, Bahamas. Welcome to the forum. I'm your host, Ricardo Wells. I could always tell how hype Saturdays are based on the text line when I pick up the phone. Going by these messages, the eye opener right before me was a big deal. So tough show to follow up, but I'm happy to be in the studio. You're listening to Guardian Radio, streaming live on GuardianTalkRadio.com. For those listening, you can listen to us on TV at Cable Bahamas Channel 969 or BTC Flow Channel 612. You can download the Guardian Radio app for your Apple and Android smart devices and listen to our audio feed or watch us on our video feed right there on the Guardian Radio app. You could text us. The text line is, like I said, active. That's 422-GR96, 422-4796, powered by BTC, standard tech rate reply. You can call us toll-free at 323-6232 or 325-4369 or 325-4259 or call toll-free from the Family Islands at 242-300-5720. Like I said, this is the forum. It's a new show. It's a new venture for myself and a bit of a housekeeping, a couple of matters. As we get started, I just want to express my condolences to the loved ones and the family of the young victims that passed in the car crash on June 28th. Right before the show, we got confirmation that another victim involved in that crash has passed away. So I want to take the time and just extend my condolences to the family and friends. I know this is a trying time for all, but again, thoughts and prayers to those family members. And as we continue to get through this, it kind of lines up with what the topic is that we're going to discuss today. And I checked with the wife before this, so we're good. I'm going to go ahead and do it. The topic or the question that I want to ask to the general Bahamian public to launch the forum is simple. Is your politics or our politics worth dying for? And I know it's a somber concept. I know it's something that we don't want to venture to really think about. But all over the world, society after society, we see this situation where persons sometimes take to the streets. They sometimes risk their lives. And they do it all in the name of bettering the politics in their given country because they understand that the politics is connected to the society that they want to build. So I'm not calling for any mass confusion. I'm not calling for any sort of violence. I want us to have a somber conversation and ask ourselves. We're coming off a general election. In the general election on May 12th, we saw a political party reelected for the first time in give or take 20, 25 years. And with that said, I have to ask Bahamian people, are we taking our politics as serious as we should? Are we asking our political leaders to be as good? Are we looking at this through the prism of the only way to better our society is to better our style of politics? So I ask, is our politics worth dying for? And I'm going to kind of set that up alongside this nugget. This show is based upon rap music coming in. You heard the instrumental for throughout today's show. You're gonna hear some music from the Reasonable Doubt album by Jay-Z. That album is celebrating 30 years. Hip hop has been a big deal in my entire life. Most of the social constructs, most of the political language, most of my knowledge in the political space was kind of developed through the lens of hip hop music. So that's gonna play a big role in this show. And as we move on, there's just so much topics, but a big thing for me is also poetry. I have a love for poetry. I have a love for reading. So that kind of set up what this show is all about. So a piece that I really want us to focus on today is the poem Harlem by Langston Hughes. That poem, written in 1951, it goes as follows. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin, like a sore, and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat, or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it sags like a heavy load, or maybe it just explodes. That poem kind of gave birth to what this entire show is all about. Because for my entire life coming up in the Bahamas, I always heard about this concept called the American dream. And as I got a bit older and as I got into my teenage years, the concept kind of shifted a bit. And then I started to hear my friends and some of my colleagues talk about the Bahamian dream. And of course, we always heard the comedy around it. You know, the Bahamian dream is a job at Atlantis. The Bahamian dream is, a Honda. The Bahamian dream is, a nice, good 2-bedroom apartment. It varied as you go person, situation to situation. But the premise in that is that persons in my age group, they had aspirations. They had things that they wanted to see. They had things that they wanted to do. And oftentimes, those things never came to fruition. And remembering my early point, is your politics worth dying for? I come from a generation, I am 34 going on 35. My entire generation, we occupy this community, this country on hope. We hope that the future is better. We hope that things improve. We hope that we see, a better day on the horizon. We're turning 53 next Friday, this upcoming Friday. We hope that with 53 comes growth. We heard the show just before me. They talked about all of these social issues that we're dealing with. They touched on some of the national issues that is in the collective conscience of the Bahamian people. Mentioned the recent announcement of another death associated with that car crash. Is the Bahamian dream deferred? Is the Bahamian dream no longer in reach? Have we lost the collective consciousness of what the Bahamian dream actually represents? And it takes me back to that point on us re-electing a government for the first time in more than 2 decades. Do we know the onus that we've put on that government? Do we understand it? Do we understand how to hold that government to an account? Do we understand that there should be expectations on that government? Or have we just lost the idea and lost the plot, and we're going to allow this administration to just basically run free and allow the chaos that we see all over our streets and in our communities, we just allow it to be? And it's just hard because I look at countries all around them, in the lens of their 30th year independence. I think about them in their 40th, their 50th, their 60th. We have a lot of, growing countries around the world. And I look at them at that time and I say to myself, we could see the plot lines of what that country was developing to be. And I have to admit, it's hard to say the same thing about the Bahamas. For nearly 3 decades, again, we've gone government by government, not really holding any of them to any expectations. We as a society, we played a role in that. And I asked my people, what is the plan moving forward? How we want to really approach the situation over the next 5 years with this current progressive Liberal Party administration, the Brave Davis administration. And over the next, it's a little under 2 hours now, but over the course of this show, I don't want to tear into the government. I want to believe that better is. I am a bit taken aback and I'm a bit, already gun shy with the whole idea of where I see them in the first 2 months of this administration. I don't see the growth that I wanted. I don't see the growth from a government that is celebrating 2 years in office. A re-election into office. I just don't see it. I see a lot of the things that was left over their first term in office, and I see a repeat of a lot of those things, and I'm a bit dissatisfied. I'm losing hope for my people. So we're going to spend the next hour and a half or 2 hours or so just going over these things. But I want persons to understand we need to answer that question. Is it worth dying for? We need to answer the question. Is the Bahamian dream now out of reach if it's even a dream deferred? These are the serious topics that we want to address today on the forum. We're going to jump into a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to go into our breakdown segment when we take a deeper look at some of these issues.
Our government has a firm policy not to capitulate to terrorist demands, that no concessions policy remains in force. In spite of the wildly speculative and false stories about arms for hostages and alleged ransom payments, we did not, repeat, did not trade weapons or any for hostages, nor will we.
The ballad of the bullet, some freedom or some shit. Will we ever do it big or just keep settling for look? We brag on having bread, but none of us are bakers. We all talk having greens, but none of us own acres. If none of us own acres and none of us grow wheat, then who will feed our people when our people need to eat? So it seems our people starve from lack of understanding, cause all we seem to give them is some ballin' and imaginary mansions. We should be indicted for bull we inciting, telling children deaf and pretending it's exciting. We are advertisements.
I look funny, all black up yesterday.
But she says she bumped into a wall when she's running after the churn them.
Yeah, but last Saturday you see her arm was all black and blue, right?
What you saying? You think something wrong between her and Jack?
I ain't sure, but you know Jack is a jealous man. I hear him and Cora last Friday. I hear him say he hear Cora have eyes for Junior.
Now you know that ain't true. Cora is a good woman, does mind her business, take care every Sunday. So what you think we should do?
I think we should report Jack, you know. Cora don't say nothing, but silence hides violence, and we don't want to line up in the cemetery.
Not me. I ain't getting in nobody business, then Jack come after me, and I land up next to Cora.
No, man, we could call a text Crime Stopper. And remember, we can even get some grocery money for our tip.
Remind me again, how does this work?
We can call them in Miami at 328-TIPS or 328-8477. Or when we in the island, call toll-free at 300-TIPS or 300-8477. And if you don't have no minutes, use the Crack Crime Bahamas app and we could text them. And the messages get on mix up before it leave your phone so nobody can know what you saying.
So what we waiting on then? Let's go earn some grocery money.
Always on the go? Missed the show? You can now listen to Guardian Radio talk shows anytime, anywhere on Spotify and YouTube by searching Guardian Radio 96.9 FM or by entering the name of your favorite show. You can also listen by logging on to GuardianTalkRadio.com and clicking on the podcast tab. Guardian Radio, continuing to provide you with fresh news and smart talk anywhere, anytime, all day.
Struggling to find your financial rhythm? Make that move to Fidelity and let us help you orchestrate your financial goals into perfect harmony with free financial coaching sessions. Make that move today. Call 356-7764.
Fidelity, we're good for you.
Bounce, bounce, y'all, bounce. Get bounce, bounce, world, bounce, bounce. Check. Yo, I'm making short-term goals. When the weather falls, just put away the leathers and put ice on the gold. Chilly with enough bail money to free a big Willie. High stakes, I got more at stake than Philly. Shopping sprees, copping threes. Dudes be by IS's, fully loaded. Yes, bouncing in the Lex Luger. Tire smoke like Buddha. 50 G's to the crap shooter. Players can't fade me.
Welcome back to the forum. Best way to celebrate your Saturday. Let's get into it. Like I said before the break, on the forum today, we're celebrating 30 years of one of my favorite albums, Reasonable Doubt. That track just now was Can't Knock the Hustle from Jay-Z. I don't want to say one of my favorite, if not the favorite on the album. But getting right back into the topic, we started off before the breaks. Text lines open, phone lines open. Join the conversation if you want to do that. Telephone lines again are 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259, or toll free from the Family Islands, 242-300-5720. Text line as well is 422-GR96. That's 422-4796. Standard text rates apply. And like I said before, the big line coming off of the intro, is our politics worth dying for? To go back over the tragedy that we've been locked in as a country over the last week or so, mourning the deaths of, before today, it was 4 teenage girls, part of a car crash, and now we're up to 5. I think a young man, I see some reports saying 19, some reports are saying 25. We need to get the definite number on that. He's now been added to the count, regrettably. And it really bothers, it really boggles the mind. Are we doing enough as society to demand that our governments put the right steps in place? All week we've gone back and forth talking about the laws. We know the laws that are on the book. We know the laws that speak to how we handle situations like this. Traffic laws, rules and regulation when it comes to how a persons get their license, how a car is licensed, all of these sorts of things. We know what is on the books. The problem is enforcement and how we go about demanding that these laws be enforced. When I made the announcement to the Guardian Radio family earlier this week, the topic we were discussing at the time of that announcement, what were some of the ways that we could, improve the situation going on our roadways. And I, at the time, not recommended, I, kind of reiterated something that I read on social media earlier in the week, this idea of putting points on your license. Is that enough? At the time, this was Wednesday, Thursday, I thought it was enough. Immediately after the show, I got tons of calls and texts telling me, all sorts of ideas that we could do, and everyone on the same line. Tell me, how is this something new? Because none of it was new. So we know where the tragedies are. We know where the issues are. We all have friends. We all have families that either don't have their license and they are on the roadway. We all have friends. We all have families. And some of us, we know people that purchased their license. And I said in that moment, why aren't we calling those people out? Why aren't we making that a big deal? Why aren't we addressing it? The kid in this situation, I think he was the driver. He was arrested yesterday. He's 19. He's 19. He was in a rental. What was the process for him to obtain that rental? And it brings me back to the logic here as, are we assisting in our own downfall? I don't know the exact specifics on where he got the car or who rented the car, but what is the actual policy over how cars are rented? I know if you go to the U.S., you have to be a certain age. Your driver's license has to be of, a certain amount of time. Who is looking at these things and ensuring that the laws and policies that need to be enforced are being enforced? All of these things play a role. And I'm just saying to myself, hold on 1 second, got a text message. Okay, so the official police report is reporting that he is 25 years old. I'm seeing some social media reports that he's 19. So we're going to go based on what police are indicating. He's 25 years old. Again, condolences to the family. But despite the age, the issue is still the same. Person's going up and down 1 a.m. in the morning, out at parties. I don't want to kind of muddy the water on this particular issues, but again, we know the stories. Alcohol involved. I'm, again, not speaking directly to the situation, just generally. Alcohol involved. Persons, trying to go out and have a good time, and situations goes left or right. What do we have in place to ensure that even if a group of kids this age go out and try to have a good time, that they can get home safe? We talk about public transportation. Should we look at implementing public transportation in a way where they're available after midnight in high traffic, high party, social areas? Is that something that we need to look at? Maybe this is a good time to bring up, I think it was tried and it didn't move forward, the Uber-style car service. Is that something that we could revisit that could help with situations like this? And that's why I reflected on the term used earlier, is our politics we're dying for, because it's not being creative enough. It's not putting ours. Our politics is more party-based, and it allows persons in those political organizations to basically live life high off the hog, while the things that we need to address, the things that we need to put in place are often overlooked. Because, again, going back to the situation, I remember being that age. I remember, going out, nightclubs the first time, doing things like this. And thank God that I had decent parents that taught me, hey, we rather you call somebody rather than you trying to get home. And, they were those styles of parents. So I'm asking again, How many people have parents like that? How many people have older siblings that would, tell them, bro, I'd rather come pick you up drunk in the middle of the night, you wake me up of my sleep rather than having to go through the situation. And I don't think we're ready to have those styles of conversations. And we're looking at the same thing in our healthcare system. We all have family and friends. Kidney disease in this country is on the rise. Dialysis is a big deal. We've had a lot of talk about building a new hospital. I know we have to deal with China that's going to bring us a new facility right off Propal track. Is it enough? Do we need to put more money in Princess Margaret Hospital? The horror stories there. It's just... So we know the access in our healthcare space is uneven. The cost of getting sick falls primarily on the backs of ordinary, everyday Bahamians. They don't have the ability to go to the US or Canada or all of these other places. They have to go right to that facility. We look at the cost of living. We understand that, the purses of our people are stretched thin. They can't afford to survive. Light bills came out this past week. I'm pretty sure all over social media you've seen it. Person saying that their light bill basically doubled. Some person's light bill tripled. These are the sorts of things that we now need to start to talk about. These are the things that we need to look at. And I'm wondering, are we putting the onus where it's supposed to be? And I'm going to be the first to, I said earlier, I don't want to be super critical of the government because they're just 2 months in. But I'm looking at this as a little over 5 years now. I know they didn't go exactly 5 years in their first term, but starting the second term, we're a little over that window now. I think that they should have come in with a lot of more of these plans already worked out. So I'm trying to figure out from a societal standpoint, what more can we do? What more can we do to fix these issues? Another one of the things that we want to look at for this new government coming in is Grand Bahama. I know my friends and family over in Grand Bahama have been waiting for years to see the turnaround. We've talked endlessly about the Port Authority situation. We've talked endlessly about, that island getting a new airport, that island, becoming on the rebound. We've seen news this week about the potential to refurbish or relaunch the International Bazaar and what that could do for that island. But I'm pretty sure the persons in Grand Bahama don't want to hear the conversation anymore. They want to see action. They want to see action. They've gone through the tragedies, hurricanes. They've gone through the tragedies of, big property closures, the old hotel there. They don't want to hear, hey, we got a plan no more. They don't want to hear we got a concept no more. They want to hear, what we getting into. They want to hear what we rebounding with. And I'm almost certain that the government has a plan, but is the plan feasible enough? We have a caller. Caller, you're live on the forum. Go ahead.
Hey man, how you doing?
Pretty good.
Congratulations on your show.
Thank you.
I really wasn't really going to call, but I would hope that your show would be one of the shows where you allow people to really speak freely and as they can. A lot of these shows, they come on and they try to be popular in the beginning, and the minute they become popular, they disrespecting them, blah, blah, blah. And I say that to say, you start your show very, very good to me. But something I noticed, and condolences to the families of all of the kids that lost their lives, every one of them. But I noticed something that's been happening because of this accident. The majority of the media, and I can get right down to something, the question you asked, whether politics is dying for. And I can relate that to these kids' death. Most of the media house since these kids got killed, and mostly when things happen, where something happen. I don't know if it's because they're trying to garner popularity or would make, I don't know how you make your money from public by being popular. But I think it irks me, and the reason I call how we use some of these instances to make ourselves popular, and I think it's very unhonest. And for me, and people like me, because a lot of people are like, oh, that gentleman sounds like you don't know people. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying that if you look at it, some of us really, when you ask the question, is politics we stand for? We know we don't care basically about each other no more. We care about PLP and our last election. Now follow me now, because this is the question you ask, and I'm answering you the same time as I'm speaking about these kids.
Callie,
Don't really care. Hello.
Yeah, you on point. I ain't gonna stop you. Keep going.
We don't really care about each other in this country. The politics we be divided now. And so we coming out, it's not for what? And not only that, the thing irks me, would cost me the car. How a kid not having a license has something to do with people who have a license, and to start penalizing people who have a license for people who don't. Those things are not matching up. That's what really irks me. And so we get down and then we should charge them $1,000. And we got this thing, we want to charge our poor people $1 million for one. Where we getting this money? Because we hate each other and we come and we lie, but we love. When somebody dies, we love. You're lying. Why would you want to charge me now $1,000 for one discrepancy on my license because a kid? Accidents will happen. What we need to do, we need to now calm down, put some signs up all over the place saying, strong driving. It's dangerous. And we don't even know if these kids was drunk. They may just had to do. I was talking with somebody, and I said to myself, you can imagine a lot of girls around a young boy. And the person will say, yeah, boy, these girls have got. That could cause a young boy get antsy. You know what I'm saying? You're the young man. You know what I'm saying, brother? Hello?
Yeah, you're there. Keep going. I watching you a little close. Keep going.
Yeah. But I don't want nobody to agree with me. I'm talking from. I'm talking for me, not for nobody else. Right. You can like me, hate me. I don't care, because I know being people. And what I'm saying is, that could be very distracting. That's what could have been the problem. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that's. I'm not giving no evidence because I was in there. I'm just giving my opinion.
Right. And I want to be clear. We don't know the specifics of this particular accident.
That's the point I'm trying to make, and everybody is acting as if though they would yell.
Right.
You understand? And that's what caused this call, because I really didn't have time to call this morning, but I just get tired of this.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? What we need to do is calm down and stop pretending we love each other and we know we don't, and start putting up signs saying, well, brother, you start fixing the holes.
Yeah. Agree.
And all these other things. But I don't want to really go on, because I can say some things, and really, let me say the last thing and then end with this then. Okay, you love each other so much. How come right now, in basically all of the businesses, stores now, you have foreigners, and I ain't going to call no particular foreigner. You got foreigners, Bahamians hardly could get a job because of that now. The Chinese is taking over the food market. And again with this, if you love each other so much, liars, when Trump sent all of these other immigrants back to the Bahamas, which you're going and give papers for well, if you didn't do that, they would go straight to Haiti, but now they have rights to come here because the papers came from here, so Trump is right. Where are they going to wait? And where these same love Bahamians who talking about all this love, where you going to wait? Where your children going to wait? When these kids come in now to have more experience because they've been in the United States, where they had hands on. Yo, stop joking. All right, brother. Take care and have a nice show, man.
Appreciate that. Quali, you touched on some key points there, and I don't endorse some of the closing sentiments you had there, but you touched on some key points. And again, I didn't want to make this show somber. In fact, I had a completely different show planned coming in for my first episode, but it was just so much. And full disclosure, just before the show, I had to, stop in my barber, Shutter Ali over there in Fox Hill, Island Connect. And at the tail end of the cut, like he said something to me that was, at the end of the cut, he normally hands you the mirror. And he skipped that entire step and he caught himself. And he asked me, like, hey, did I give you the mirror to, check your haircut out? And I was like, nah. And he's like, sorry, man. My mind ain't really there. So, just shooting conversation. It's been my barber for quite some time. I say, bro, you good? Like, and then he let me know. He was like, nah, my mind ain't there because this was the confirmation that the latest victim in this crash, died. He was like, that was my little cousin. He passed this morning. Family was just, trying to put plans together. And forgive me, Ali, I didn't want to get into the full story, but he's like, the family was planning on trying to find ways to get him off to the States to get better treatment. And that just shifted my whole mindset, because I'm not saying that this crash was avoidable. I'm not saying that if all things were perfect and all things went well, that we could not see something like this happen, because as the last caller said, accidents happen. But I just feel so strongly in my heart and in my mind and in this process that I felt that if the right things were in place, that we could avoid a tragedy like this. And we could start from the top. We could talk about, driver's ed and all these other sorts of things. We could go to the next level and we could say, make it more easy, do more theory, do some more practical before we give these kids licenses. Again, we don't know the circumstances of this case. As the caller said just now, we could do the billboards. Drunk driving could, cause lives. We could do all of that. But the problem is we skipped all of those steps. In actuality, none of these things are actually carried out to their best effect. And that's the most troubling part about this entire situation, because we skipped all of the important steps and we jumped straight to things after the tragedy. We jump straight to the pain. We jump straight to the frustration. And I know the callers say, Bahamian people lie when they say they love each other. Honestly, I think they do. I think they just get so lost in the moment. They get lost in the politics of it all. And they forget that politics is more than the rally stages. Politics is more than persons going back and forth in the House of Assembly and the clips that we see on Facebook and TikTok and all of the energy we, blow it on these airwaves day after day. Politics is what we see our communities look like. Politics is what we see our society develop into. That is what politics is. You have a caller? Caller, go ahead. You're on the forum.
Congratulations for your birthday, sir.
Thank you so much.
You know what baffles me when I ride around this island? How the policemen are so sparingly or sparsely seen.
And that's an argument I've been having for days now. I feel like we have enough officers.
Now, and then also what baffles me is, when Christmas comes around,
everywhere,
you got police all to the banks, the malls, where all these officers be? Because I'm not saying the police are out in the night now, because I see them sometimes. But we need to have more police on the road in the night, and they need to set places sometimes. Don't just be driving up and down, because you don't know where something can happen or is going to happen, or what you can deter by them seeing you just park. Because once we get used to the idea of police being parked and watching us, you know what we're going to do? We're going to think they're always there.
Yep, change behavior.
I don't know why the police don't put that in our psyche. Just like in the States. When I used to come down from college and we drive to, but back then you had what you call CB. Remember the CB? Were you too young to know about the CB radio?
Definitely too young.
Okay. Back then, everybody had a CB radio, and you would say, or you flash your lights when you coming down the road, and that means a police sitting around the bend. Or they say a yogi right round the bend. They had and the police presence was felt. So why, it baffles me why they can't sit in places to see, so the people could see them. The police has to be visible, not just riding up and down all day, riding up and down.
All right.
When people know it's a possibility of you sitting there, they're going to slow down, they're going to stop smoking their weed, they're going to stop drinking, they're going to drive a lot slower.
All right.
That is how you have to work on their psyche. Also, not just put up signs and be riding up and down. And then when somebody gets shot, I can't understand for the life of me. If something happens on East Street, why the police have to, South Beach, why the police have to come from all the way up to them headquarters? Because they be speeding down East Street, speeding up East Street. I say, well, if they got the places, why are you speeding?
All right.
It's a lot they got. It's a lot to be desired by them and their policing tactics. They need. I think the commissioner even need to go back to school and understand, or go hang out with the drug boys for a while, man, to understand their flaws. Because they need to bring in these fellas off the street some of them who are willing to talk to them. So, and tell them what they can do. But they don't ever want to approach the public. They think only them know policing.
So
but it's not so.
Carl, I have a question. The topic we all start off with is your politics worth dying for? Do you think Bahamian politics?
No, I wouldn't die for no. I wouldn't die for this country. No. Because
can I ask
we
you
don't
why?
have that. The politicians don't have that the charm to bring us together to say we're fighting for. Because see, they all for me, baby.
All right.
That's how they make me feel. Because they never show us that talk it, but they don't show it. Let's take, for instance, we got a $4 billion budget. I would think the hospital first would be priority. Show the people you care. Then you go to education. Then you go to the schools, the nurses, the doctors, and all these important people, the teachers. Show us you care and you working for us, and you may have more solidarity. But I'm not gonna. I don't see none of them look like they care. They all millionaires, and when they get millionaires, you can't reach them. And how they become millionaires, only God will know. So I wouldn't do it honestly. As much as I love my country, and I'm a Bahamian to heart, but they don't impress me that my dying would be appreciated.
And then my second question: do you feel like the Bahamian dream still exists?
No, they're taking that from us every day. Let me give you my case in point. I spoke to Scrooge about this last night. The first thing on my mind is the bank and insurance countries, meaning the insurances. They're robbing us without a gun. When you go to the bank, first of all, you got to stand up an hour. They got 2 people there. They got charged for everything. They wouldn't buy chairs for you to sit in. I keep telling them when I go in the line or when I get to the counter, everybody is not well who come into this bank. You have to understand some people are sick. They need to use the restroom. Some people wearing pull-ups. All kind of things wrong with people. But you all don't care if we stand here for an hour and a half. And then you only got 2, and everybody walking around in the bank with a piece of paper in their hand, busy. So then they're charged, and the whole idea is for the Bahamians to have more. But what we're doing is making sure the people who own these banks in Europe have more. Of course, the people who own our Royal Bank. Oh, no, not Royal, but Scotia Bank.
Oh, yeah.
To get, first you got to you go to their gate, and then you drive a mile to their house. You know how long they had their paws in this country? And the government is supposed to be trying to make sure we have more, not them. Next thing, Bank of the Bahamas. If Bank of the Bahamas, it's our bank, and you got all these other banks here from other countries, and we don't know who the owners are. They're giving you the same amount of interest, which is 0.025% on your money. If you want to get more business, let the money stay in the country, let it circulate in the country. Why don't you raise the interest rate? And this is a capitalist society. The victory goes to the one who doing the best. Either they'll come across, it's about us having more, but we're having less. The insurance companies, you go and pay all your insurance, and when it comes time to get something from them, they tell you, oh, your place ain't no good, it doesn't deteriorate. And they telling you all kinds of things not to give you what you think you're going to get. All of a sudden, they tell you they specialize in what has deteriorated. But when they're collecting your money, they wouldn't tell you pay less. You see my point there?
I definitely see your point, Carl.
They about us at all. So I can't die for this country. These banks are the worst thing I see. And see, as you get older, son, you can see the foolishness in this country. Now that I'm older, I'm disgusted. And then on the next thing, the people like me who are a little older now, being in my 60s, I've been paying taxes now from God knows when I left college. I think if God spared me my life this long to achieve something, I am now dealing with the grave and the doctor. I shouldn't have to really be so concerned with paying all these taxes I got to pay. You got to lessen it for me. Because now when I leave, I'm going to give it to my children, and they're going to start paying taxes on it again. How much juice you want to get out of the people, and we get nothing?
Boy, they trying to squeeze these fruit straws.
Yeah, they squeeze everything out of the grapes they got here. Because I done paid the bank twice. and I maintain the property. The people break up the place, they owe me. And I still trying to collect, but yet, you want your full amount of taxes.
All right.
And if I don't pay on time, you start putting interest on it. And you tell me you love me? No, man, you don't love me. I can't die for you for your family to go to school in Coast. They go to private school in Coast too. And we down here going to school like this, and the government have to feed most of us.
Wow.
No, man, this ain't no love. There ain't no love in this country, my brother.
Appreciate your call,
Because they don't care about us and the elderly people. I am a man now in my...
Understood.
And it is not fair.
Understood.
And there are people there and there beating on them tables every day, and they're not talking about the main things in this country. They rather talk about the rats, the sharks, the turtles, and all this plastic on the beaches. Ben, we who are the human beings, and we're making money, we are now in financial slavery.
Right.
This here is a form of financial slavery, and it seems like they don't see it.
Understood.
And me, who's not an accountant, could see it. You don't have to be a specialist in accounting or understand accounting. Because once you're paying it, you see it and feel it. That's the difference.
Thank you,
I'm
caller.
paying it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Now, caller said it. I can say I can be the voice for to say it. I care about the turtles. I care about the sharks. I care about the little creatures in the sea. So yeah, don't drop that. If you're on the beach now, don't drop no more plastic out there. You're trying to save the wildlife as best as possible, the marine life as best as possible. And that said, he touched on a wealth of points, and that's the part I want to get over in this show. I want our callers to call in. Feel free, hit us on the text line. This y'all show. I just the vessel to bring it through, and that's why we named the show the Forum. We want to create a forum where voices can be heard or will be heard. This is your show. There's a ton of things that we need to address in this country, and I want the voices in this country to address it with me. I am just a person trying to bring it together. This is your show. And that said, I want to be clear. This is not a bash the government show. This is not bash a society show. And I know it's a bit of a rough start given the topic, but I have to ask. Because our society, to me, and to the callers we've had so far, it feels like it's going backwards. So I have to ask, is your country worth dying for? I'm really trying to figure that out, because the way there's no love. I'm not saying that there's no love. I feel like we're losing the love that we once had when I was a kid. We have another caller. Go ahead.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, sir. I'm pretty good. Thank you for joining the forum.
I understand you're starting a new show. I didn't get your name, though.
Ricardo Wells. Wells.
Okay. Okay. I was calling you with regards to this inspection of vehicles.
Uh-huh.
Right? First of all, I don't even know what is the purpose of the inspection, because it was already covered in the license fee. I think it was either a $10 or $20 charge that increased it to $195 as it was, right? But now they are saying that if you go to have your car inspected, and let us say a tail light is all out that you don't know, you have to go and buy a tail light, which will cost you about $3 or $5. But you got to pay another $40 in order to go and get your car passed. Does that make sense?
Well, it's not the idea is for drivers to do their due diligence before bringing the car to get inspected. So,
yeah, but usually, do you normally check your tail lights to see if all of them are working?
Certainly, I'll be honest.
It'll be our fault then.
I wouldn't say it'll be your fault. I'm saying before you go and get the vehicle inspected, it's best that you take a look over. Look at the car. Make sure all the things that need to be in order are in order. In fact, you should. Some of those things you should do.
The only things that we know should be in order are the lights, the signals, and the horn. And they don't even test the brakes anymore.
They used to. There's actually put your foot on
the
brakes.
They don't do it. At least for the past 10 years, they have not been doing it. So any one of those items is worth another $40 to that going.
I don't agree with the increase. I agree that we need to enforce the inspection process a lot more. I am not a fan of the increase. I feel like we pay enough in taxes.
The biggest problem, because let us say I go and have my car inspected and passed, right? I go out there, and the following week I get in an accident. My car is already inspected and licensed for a year. So who's going to check to see that I comply with these rules?
It's supposed to be road traffic.
Well, how road traffic will check it now and go into them fast? I'm not taking my car back for inspection until the following year.
But see, that's what I'm saying to you. Again, that lies in the system. The system should have the wherewithal to address these sorts of matters. If you have a car that was licensed the year previous, and you don't see any feedback from that driver's not coming, there should be a system where road insurance indicate, hey, that we've not seen that driver. They should have some access to systems across this country, basically to do a research and figure out, is this driver still on the road? And if they change vehicles, did they license a new vehicle? Those sorts of stuff should be done via road traffic. That is my opinion.
But nothing's wrong with that. Let us say I am driving along the street. I'm in the back of this vehicle, and it's normally a truck or something like that. That don't have no brake lights, don't have no signal lights, don't have nothing on it. You mean the police doesn't see these things, or it's because of who I am that they don't bother with them? You take the tractor heads, as they call them, that pulls these containers about. There's no signal lights on the containers. There's no brake lights. There's nothing on them, or even lights at night if they're driving around. And nobody does anything about it. But they worried about my car being inspected.
I'm not gonna say that they should not worry about your car, but they should. The same way that they worry about your car, they should be worried about those trailers. And this is
they are more dangerous than me.
I mean, all are dangerous, sir. I'm saying the same emphasis that they put on your car, your small car, driving up and down the street, making sure that it follows protocol. It's the same thing that they should put on these large vehicles, doing the exact same thing. Thank you for the call.
Even
call you on there with the forum.
Yeah. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Go ahead. So you're breaking up real bad. I don't know if you want to check your connection and get back with us. Yeah, we're struggling with that connection, caller. Sorry about that. If you could clean that connection up and get back to us. Just want to read a couple of quick texts. First one is, good morning, Mr. Wells. What's going on with the insurance for the armed forces? This is a top watch yesterday. I'm not going to speak on it because I've not read up enough on it, but I know there's some weird things going on here. But to finish up the text, this is why I wanted the government to change before election. They thought nothing of us now. After, it's no better. Lower income people will suffer the most, even more than before. Shaking my head. Caller, hopefully we can get some more information on that and bring that to bear. Next text, I agree wholeheartedly with the views of the caller, who, like me, we're in our 60s. He's speaking truth. I'm going to correct that text right there. Next text, what system? Why can't we have a roving road inspectors with dedicated junior officers all the time, including before 6 a.m., because that's when the one-eyed goblins are speeding on the road. Jesus Christ, one-eyed goblins. Why do we have roads that look like the surface of the moon? Who is responsible for ensuring ongoing maintenance? Well, the ongoing maintenance is, again, Ministry of Works through their road paving. I think it's a unit or a team, but they have a team that's responsible for paving of roads, and I think they outsource some of that as well. But it is the Ministry of Works. And to be honest, I could get you up for this, but paving roads, they've done a lot. I have a couple of former colleagues that are over there, and they've been doing a tremendous job, getting to the roadways and ensuring that they are safe and sound. I know we had the situation with Shirley Street, but I am going to give credit where credit is due. And I am impressed by what they have done in other areas. Shirley Street is being addressed now. I felt like it should have been addressed earlier. But yeah, I'm going to give credit where credit is due. Call you on with the forum. Go ahead. Your connection is still bad, so you're breaking up real bad. Go ahead. Let me see if we could make out what you're trying to say. Hello, caller, you still there? Okay, I think we lost that one again. Finishing up text. If you've been in an accident after the car is fixed, make sure everything is working properly. I'm not going to say this next part. Our tremendous senior citizens really are a piece of work. Texter, you try to get me in trouble. I'm not going to take the bait. But like I said to that caller, I feel like certain things despite your age, you should be able to do if you're going to traverse the roadways in a vehicle. Every time you hop out or getting ready to hop in your car, check your brakes. Ask somebody in the household to, hey, step up, make sure my brakes good. Like, circle in the neighborhood, make sure, you see my back lights. Test them headlights, pull up close to the wall. Don't go through the wall, but pull up close to the wall, cut your lights on, make sure you're on the wall. Check your horn, just beep it a little bit. If you got to go and you see it could be a rainy day, just do the wipers across, make sure it ain't rubbing. If your hair rubbing sound, time to change them wipers. These are the things that we need to do before we get on the roadways. We all play a part in this. And again, I put the emphasis on the government to ensure that when you get out on that roadway, things are safe and sound, but I am putting the onus on drivers to ensure that when they get their cars out on the roadway, it's safe and sound to be out there. We got a couple more texts. Let's go through them real quick before we head to a break. You don't drive on Nassau, especially in the inner city. Example, Lifeboy Street, Fritz Lane. It's ridiculous. Boy, y'all is being boy, my classism made sure that y'all is be in some areas. Be safe out there, though. Be safe out there. Especially in that East Street, Wolf Road corridor. Yeah, the quality of the roads in that area, I do drive some of those areas. Yeah, they need to be improved. I'm just saying, I've seen the work by the Ministry of Work in other communities. So I know that they are out there working. Is it sufficient? Definitely not. Can they do more? Absolutely. But are they working? Yes, they are. I can attest to that. And I'm going to give, again, credit where credit is due. But yes, that is the premise of this entire show as we move into our next commercial break. We want our government to work. We want our society to work. We want our country to work. And I know it's a bit much to say it like that, but I want to know if you all think the politics in this country we're dying for. Because I can say it like this. We dying regardless. Whether it's through the hospital, whether it's on the roadways, we dying regardless. So I need y'all to get as serious enough about this issue as me to understand that you got to take it serious, because politics ain't worth dying for. I think it's bypass time for you to make it something you're willing to die for. Take it that seriously.
Society, trying to keep the eye. I wonder, can you save me? Illuminati want my mind, soul, and my body. I wonder, can you save me? I can't die.
Yeah, the shit wicked on these mean streets. None of my friends speak. We all trying to win, but then again, maybe it's for the best though. Cause when they seeing too much, you know they trying to get you touched. Whoever said illegal was the easy way out couldn't understand the mechanics and the workings of the underworld. Granted, 9 to 5 is how you survive. I ain't trying to survive, I'm trying to live it to the limit and love it alive. Life ills, poison my body. I used to say my skills. I never prayed to God, I prayed to God. That's right, it's wicked. That's life, I live it. Ain't asking for forgiveness for my sins. Ends, I break bread with the lay heads, picking their brains for angles and all the evils.
Investing? Check. But what if you could do more? With an RF brokerage account, you can get priority access to local investment opportunities right as they come to the market. Never miss a bond. You can house all your investments in one place and benefit from expert investment advice. Contact us at brokerage@rfgroup.com to start doing more today. Some conditions apply. RF, money at work.
Guess who's back?
It's that time again for the 31st annual Michael Scuderi Peace on the Streets Basketball Classic.
Bring it on now, let's go.
Whether you're a player or a fan, you don't want to miss this one. The action starts July 13th at the Hope Center. Log on to peaceonthestreets.com and register. Come on, everybody, we're going! That's the Peace on the Streets Basketball Classic, where we shoot hoops instead of guns. Game time.
Love the show? Want to give your support? Become a sponsor today. Call 302-2300 for our rates and packages. That's 302-2300. Become a sponsor on Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, streaming on GuardianTalkRadio.com and the Guardian Radio app, Nassau, Bahamas.
stress. Regress. Sunshine, shade. I sold it all from crack to OPM. In third person, I don't wanna see him.
Live on a beautiful Saturday here in Nassau, Bahamas. It's so good to be in the studios here at Guardian Radio. Again, first show out of the books. We're celebrating Reasonable Doubt, the first album by my favorite rapper, Jay-Z. So that is going to be the music you hear going in and coming out of breaks. I need people to understand, like, rap music is a big part of my life. So what I listen to, you hear. I know the white did like the track list, but we getting through it. Y'all get some classic hip-hop. Y'all get some classic tracks. And again, Reasonable Doubt turning 30. One of my favorite albums. It's right up there with probably Illmatic, Ready to Die by Biggie. So that is what the forum is all about. You can hear some, music. You can hear some stuff going, and I invite everybody. I think Jay-Z has the concert series going right now. He had the Roots Picnic a couple of weeks back. He's doing Yankee Stadium, or did Yankee Stadium. So all of these sorts of things you're gonna see here. But if you haven't had a chance to listen to Reasonable Doubt, I invite you definitely to go out, listen to Reasonable Doubt. The song Taking Us to the Break was one of my favorite songs, The Evils. I think y'all tired of me saying Jay-Z. One of the songs is my favorite. All the songs on the album is right up there for me. But going into the break, we heard The Evils. It's a song that kind of juxtapose what life and the drug game and could do to persons, and how you could see people that we once looked at as calm, collective persons, and what that lifestyle could do to them. So you get a look into a situation where persons change because of the things that they're involved in. And then coming back is Regrets. Again, classic song. It talks about, what exactly you have to look back on in life after you go through all these things. And sometimes you say to yourself, like, wow, that really changed me. And you have to come to the door, find a way to live with them. So we're going to continue to hear those classic Jay-Z tracks throughout the show today. Again, text lines are open, phone lines are open. We're having good conversations today. If you want to join us via the telephone, you can hit us up at 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. Toll free from the Family Islands at 242-300-5720. Text line is also active. You can hit us up at 422-GR96. That's 422-4796. Standard text rates apply. We're also active on Flow TV. We're also active on cable TV via Cable Bahamas. So yeah, we're streaming live on the Guardian Radio app. So you can hit us up there as well. Just to keep the conversation going, we have a couple of texts that we just want to get into. Why don't we hear more men speaking out against the rapes and sexual assaults against children and women? Are men agreeing with it, 8-year-olds and even younger? This is not on the topic that they texted, but I know the show right before us had this issue. They talked about it. They talked about the need for sex crime registry. They talked about some of the things, and I think Alea, one of the hosts on that show, she was like, these things need to be done in decency and order. That's not her exact phrase, but that's what I took from it. You can't just jump out there and do a sex registry. You have to make sure that all the, things associated with it are in place. We need to make sure that these things are done properly to prevent the exact opposite from happening. We live in a very complex society where persons who may look at that registry, may look at the names on that registry, and kind of use it to do something devastating is the best word I could use. And we don't want to encourage that sort of thing. So we need to ensure that the right protocols are in place to ensure that we don't have the opposite effect. We're going to continue with our topic. We're talking about politics in this country and trying to figure out, is politics in this country we're dying for? Is the Bahamian dream still a thing, or is it a dream deferred, like we talked about in retrospect with the poem from Langston Hughes called Harlem? We have another texter. Like I said, the text line's open, so if you want to join, you can hit us up on text, or you could call. The text message reads, so that supposes, I'm not sure I understand what you're trying to say there, that sex offenders can be reformed. No, I'm not. Still, you're really trying to bait me into this conversation. I don't want to get off the rails of what we were talking about. I think we have enough evidence out there. If we look at, the research, specifically from the psychological standpoint of what reform looks like in persons like this. That's why I said all of this plays a role in how we set up that registry system. You have to ensure that these persons, when they are found guilty and they are, put behind bars, that if there's a possibility for them to be out in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, that they are being reformed the best way that we could, that they are going through the proper treatment protocols, that they are showing signs before you let them out or let them return to society, that they have the capability to exist in society once they return. So the idea there is not to just put somebody back out on the street if they are not reformed. But the law looks at it as once a person serves their time, then they've served their time. So we as a society need to ensure, again, this is why politics is so important, that we as a society ensure that what is on the books is commensurate with the kind of change we want to see. So if we have these persons return to society, do we want to implement some sort of lifelong therapy, some sort of, lifetime counseling, not only for the victims, but the perpetrators as well, if we're going to let them back out into society? Because we don't want to just leave these persons out. We've seen case after case in recent years where persons are out and within a month, within a week, within less than a year of them being returned to the street, that they reoffend. So it's not a cut and dry situation where everybody is not cookie cutter. Not every case is going to be the same. Not every perpetrator needs to go through. Whether it's psychological, whether it's further incarceration, all of that is a part of a bigger process. So, Text, I hope I answered the question. I'm not trying to get deep into that today. I did the best I could do on that. As we move forward, we're going to touch on an issue like that. But again, just before the break, we had somebody raise in text the issue with the insurance. We saw a statement yesterday from Kalina that was followed up by a social media post and then a further statement by Mr. Senator Latrey Raming, the Director of Communication in the Office of the Prime Minister. And I got asked, I could cause trouble, I could stir the pot here. Why are we surprised? This was an issue, I think, towards the end of the Brave Davis's first administration. PM Davis's first administration. We saw it at the tail end. We never saw a report that it was resolved. We saw the notices saying that, the bills were not being paid relative to this particular issue. Why are we surprised that we're not, where the insurer is putting out a statement? Saw some stuff online where persons were talking about, we got to wait and see, and, we got to get all sides. I don't think this is a story you need all sides for. That's the beauty of paying bills. You either pay it or you ain't. And if you ain't pay it, the people need coverage. You got to resolve that. And if you pay it and the insurer made a mistake and put a statement out prematurely, you got to address it in your statement. But to put out a statement or to address the matter on, hey, this is going to be addressed, or, we're working behind the scenes to resolve. No, that's not the answer. That is not the answer. That is definitely not the answer. So we definitely need to get more on that matter. Try to figure out what was the timeline on this. I know the government has received several notices by the insurer about non-payment. So we definitely need to jump into that to figure out what's going on. But again, our topic today is our politics we're dying for. And we wax poetically in the first half talking about all the things that this government coming in for a second term having to deal with. We talked about healthcare. We talked about the crisis at our hospital. We talked about the long waiting lines. We talked about the lack of quality care. We talked about the high rate of deaths of persons walking in with, I don't want to say minor ailments, but, ailments that some family members think that they would, at some point with. We also talked about the cost of living. We had some callers that addressed it as well. We had some seniors that basically said at this stage of their life, it's a bit of a struggle, to pay taxes and still adequately meet their needs. We talked about the island of Grand Bahama and the reoccurring lack of development. Every time they take a step forward, it's like 3 steps back. The need for fundamental shifts to their economy. The need for fundamental shifts when we talk about development, particularly from an island perspective of Grand Bahama. But one thing we didn't dive deep into that I want to really focus this back half on is corruption and transparency. And I said it at the beginning of the show. There's some things about this government that we now have that really bothers me, that really irks me, that really, grinds my gears. And this is one of them. We've heard the story for the last couple of weeks. The story surrounding Mr. I'm trying to figure out if I should call the name because they say you can't really, call the name, but I'm just going to go with it. Mr. Eric Gardner and Top Notch Builders and the Minister of Finance, Mr. Michael Alkitis, and everything that happened revolving around the May 12th plane crash with a couple of souls traveling from Abaco over to Grand Bahama. I think it was initially said that those persons were heading to Grand Bahama to vote. Topic in retrospect to what we're dealing with. I think when we look at what our government has presented itself to be, particularly the fact that they are the first administration in quite some time, I think almost 3 decades to be reelected. I think the onus is on them more so than anybody to finalize once and for all the Freedom of Information Act. I know it's on the books, it needs to be enforced, it needs to be seen through. But to have them toss around the phrase that they have a mandate, that they have been reelected, to celebrate that fact, I think with that sort of power, with that sort of, mystique, there comes great responsibility. And as a part of that great responsibility, everything that we've seen related to the Eric Gardner matter is we need the Freedom of Information Act. We need to address these sorts of problems head on. We need to ensure that what we see tossed about not only in the House of Assembly, but tossed about in office via quotes by government representatives and senior personnel throughout the government. We need transparency. We don't need a situation where we have to guess if these facts or these presented facts are true. We are long into a time now where persons have the ability to understand right from wrong, good from bad. We don't have to guess on these facts anymore. And I think if we had the Freedom of Information Act, we would understand fully exactly what top-notch builders actually did in this country. We would understand even better. We've seen the reports about the Jamaica Village project. We've seen some reports about the Venice Bay Holdings. We've seen these sorts of reports, and I think with Freedom of Information Act, Bahamian people would be more adept on exactly what happened. We saw communications about the government and its loan process that led to the Jamaica Village project. I think with the Freedom of Information Act, we would be able to see this issue a lot clearer. We know that when Mr. Gardner went down in that crash and later rescued by U.S. Personnel, I think it was the Coast Guard to be exact, he was recovered with a large amount of cash on it, Freedom of Information Act, we would know more about what those funds were intended for. He had, I think, 30,000 to be exact. It was later revealed that he withdrew 20,000 from the bank account of Top Notch. And I think there was a portion of that was labeled or signed or documented to be intended for a politician, allegedly. I think with the right Freedom of Information Act, we would know more about that process. And this is why it's all troubling. We want to celebrate that we could go out and we could have clean and fair elections. But then you have to ask, how clean are elections when you could read in federal indictment documents that some of this money was intended for a politician? That some of this money could have been earned through government projects, through government contracts. This is why we need Freedom of Information Act. Call you on the forum. Go ahead.
Yes. Good afternoon. Congratulations on your show, The Forum.
Good afternoon.
Yes, Alan Johnson. Yeah, I want to touch a couple of points. Let me just touch on the one that you just touched. Right. The Freedom of Information Act is the fantasy in the Bahamas. You're not going to find any paper manually of anything else because we don't use technology. But when you talk about financial reform, the reason why you could have significantly more to the tunes of millions that's in our election processes because we don't have financial reform. The drug dealers and other illicit funds could very easily be facilitating. And if you take the time to look at our banking system and what government has done over the years, is that there's no backstop to allow money laundering through limit. And we see that in almost for them, it'll be hard for them to argue that you cannot verify the funds that is used to build some of the buildings and things that has been done. We have no information to, no enforcement of the law for illegal enrichment or anything of that sort that we have. So, which kind of like brings me to a point for us to continue our conversation. I made a note. In fact, about 2 days ago, somebody asked me a question. And just let me read this short note, right? The Bahamas must confront a hard truth. Idiocracy in governance is becoming normalized. Too often, we reward noise over knowledge, loyalty over competence, personality over performance, and excuses over execution. The country cannot be managed by slogans, by press conferences, and political theater. A government that cannot measure results cannot manage results. A leadership culture that bears facts will eventually be governed by fiction. The danger is not simply that incompetent people. The danger is when the public lowers its expectation so far, so low, that incompetence begins to look normal. Now, the reason I say that is that I often use this concept of you cannot manage what you cannot measure.
All right.
And I know you just spoke about road paving. Nowhere in the last 30 years or the 25 years of the 21st century can you see a gap analysis, a cost analysis, or time analysis, or KPI, whatever it is, for anything government does. So what that does, though, it begins to make you believe that activity is progress. And so you have a lot of road paving, and because you cannot measure the needs analysis or the gap analysis for what has to be done, a lot of activity could actually be going backwards. In the fact that you say you buy a tap for a leaking roof, or you buy more buckets to catch the roof so you don't have to argue about needing new furniture, but the roof is deteriorating. And so when you look at what our budget is and how it's consumed by these expenses that get continuous, and very little goes to the actual building of the infrastructure that is needed for growing the economy, you could only question, how do we run a $16 billion economy with majority of our expenses going for recurring expenses or interest payments? So we may have, $500,000, $1.5 billion worth of repairs. And so what we do is we do patchwork repairs and things around. We fix a little bit of this. We have no new schools. We really have no real roads that's been revamping for the 50 years that the life is. Because first of all, we don't build the roads for 50 years of life.
Right.
We build them for a couple of years. So we don't have no clue as to our current condition, except for what is marketed through soundbite governance. And so even though we make these expectations, let's use the car example that you use,
Right.
where you say inspection of cars. The police could just simply enforce the laws. They see a car without a lamp, right? And I like to use this expression. We got technology for that, right? So a car could have a light out. I can give you a warning, right? Yes, a $5 expend $10. You fix the light and pay $10 or $20 just for the policeman time. And then when the next time you get stopped, if it's not fixed, the computer tells them that you've already been warned. You passed the time to fix it, so now your fine is $50 or whatever it is.
Right. So all systems that exist at some in somewhere in the world.
Yes.
It exists.
Right. And so it's like and I hear people always come up with these amazing solutions for problems, which, and my mom used to say, a problem basically is nothing more than an unapplied solution.
Right.
And so, it's like we struggle with just minor things that we have to do. And so, like for instance, you talk about Grand Bahama. Go back to 2002. Both person leading the political parties who would become prime minister said, Grand Bahama, if Grand Bahama does not develop, so goes Grand Bahama economy, so goes the Bahamian economy.
Right.
The exact same thing was repeated in 2007, 2012, 2017, 2021, and again in 2026. The question then has to ask yourself, I put to you that, and I think a good show I caught was Newey, where he says, this is as good as we get. And I add to that, they come from amongst us. And you have to ask yourself, whether it be the economy, the growth of the economy, the inclusion of the humans, if you go back to 1973, a population of 200,000 people,
right,
and a GDP of $600 million. Today, we have a GDP of $16 billion and just double the population. Yet we own less homes, less infrastructure, less of everything. Where we went from $600 million to $16 billion in 53 years. But we own less of everything. I don't even know if we could argue proportionately we own anything in the Bahamas, because it's all being decided for us.
Right.
Through the leakages and going forward. So, but when you come back to Grand Bahama poses a unique economic and political picture that could not, and I put to you that there's some political and economic reasons because the Grand Bahama economy has not been able to be captured
right
by a small group of individuals who wants control.
No, I can't see it, because this is a conversation I have all the time in my friend circles, and most recently I had this conversation with my mom and my older brother, I think a couple of days ago, about Grand Bahama and the Hawksbill Creek Agreement. I need you to stress that last point, the point you made that there's a small few that want their hands on it, and what does that mean? Because I think that could shape the entire picture of what's going on in Grand Bahama that a lot of people don't really pay attention to.
See, what happens is 99, in fact, Sir Jack, when he came back from a cabinet meeting, and he said this on a live broadcast, and the Perry Gladstone Christie administration was in his last term. He came out straight from the fight from that. He stands in front of the cameras and he says, I've just met with cabinet, and the entire cabinet was clueless about what the Hawksbill Creek Agreement says. And he says, except for that one little chop, that how Keith is chopped was quite interesting, because he somehow seemed to at least know a little about business.
Yeah.
But as far as, and he said, and I have the tape, I can provide it for you. And so
I've seen a clip of it. I've seen a clip of it. And this is why I keep stressing to people I talk to about this issue with, I think we've gone so long with persons not really digesting what the Hawksbill Creek Agreement actually spelled out, that a lot of people don't understand what Freeport was intended to be. Yes, we see the challenges now, but it was clear.
It's still there. Because what happens is the 5,000 free ports that now exist, in economic zones that exist, all copied ours. The word was free port. And I tell people to do this. Google the word free space, P-O-R-T, to understand what a free port is. So, because they used to name the word location Freeport because they adopted it as a city name. But it was actually meant to be a free space port. And there's billion-dollar operations. But going back to the capture, is that, let's use an example. When I came home in 2002, and I looked at the Hawksville Creek Agreement, having been gone for almost 20 years, 30 years, and I asked the question, why aren't we following what is this new agreement did in 1994? For 23 years, people told me, sit down and shut up, you don't know what you're talking about. Only to have the government take the Port Authority to court, and the Port Authority to take counter to the government, which took us back to 2016, which is also recorded, where I told them we should go back to the 1994 agreement, for them to spend almost $40 million for them to respectfully say Sea Island was right. And the beauty about that agreement says that the government of the Bahamas had constructive control of Freeport, which they did not know since 1968 or whenever it was.
And I promise you, listeners and anybody else that intend to call, this show is not intended to be about this, but I'm happy Sea Island called because we came right off of that Freeport point and how destitute that community is, how wanting and needing that community is for proper financial development. Notice I didn't say development. Leadership. I can accept that, Sea Island.
Right. Not because the money around the world is here, and I hear people complain about monies in the banks in the Bahamas. Right. I'll come back to that. Let's get back. Let me go to Freeport first. But the fact is that Freeport, let's use hospitality and tourism industry, not even the financial services yet. But if you just look at it for it to be competitive for Grand Bahama, to be competitive with New Providence, without the mega resorts, but the need for about 20,000 bed and breakfast units or whatever, hotel units, just for the hotel to exist. First of all, let me say, is that these airports we're building on these islands, they're all fantasies. And let me explain you the economics of them. Because when you borrow those money, nobody lives in the airport, they transfer to them. And so unless you have an infrastructure to allow the pass-through and the sustaining of those airports, those are money pits, and you'll find out why, it's done. But we don't have those discussions. So when you come back to Grand Bahama and you talk about the need for that $250 million airport, you're talking about a need for about 20,000 units because there's a throughput through the airport that has to happen, and the people is not going to sleep in cars and bushes or in the airport.
Right.
And so when they talk about an airport without a hotel, I'm not talking about these captured economy that the cruise ship does, because the cruise ship has a captured economy where 90% or more of all revenue from the cruise industry stays on the ship or through the ship. On the
little under 90%.
But they're moving now. See, it's above 90 now that they have these ports, these islands.
Oh, okay. I see. Yes.
You understand?
But see, that's why it takes us into the discussion relative to what we put in those heads of agreement when we do these island deals.
But the thing about it is the money's available today for behemoths. See, what happens is the Prime Minister, Mr. Brave Davis, in his last term, went to Life with Key and made a threat about tearing down walls and stuff. Then after he was challenged, he came and spoke at the University of Bahamas about tearing down walls. The problem with that is this: the gatekeepers have put more chains on the gate, and they've put even roadblocks at the gate. But what the Prime Minister and many miss, and this is why we talk about these things about technology, though we are 25 years into the 21st century, is that the walls have fallen. So you have this well-secured gate in a city of an economic opportunity with no walls, but the behemoths have been taught to be fixated on getting through the gate. See, because we believe, you have to understand is that, and my wife taught me this, that you don't believe what you see, you believe what you've been taught. And so we have been taught that you must go through the gate, not to walk through the wall or go around the gate. And so the economics are there. But if you use Grand Bahama as an example, what happens if you develop Grand Bahama and 60,000 Bahamian adults, you just lost 10 seats, 10 political seats out of New Providence. That makes them no longer the economic power where individuals may control the harbor, the gas stations, the roads, the all of these different things, the infrastructure that this theater, economic theater that we have in the Bahamas.
I can't let you go no further than that because that's a separate show. We got a show. We got that show coming up in, I want to say 3 to 4 weeks when we talk about the economic power here in this country. But I have to ask you the 2 questions I've been asking all of our callers today. CA, is the politics in the Bahamas worth dying for?
No, not the politics. The country is, because what happens is what scares me is that we have lowered the level for our leadership. And I used to.
That's why I let you get that whole written piece off because it's absolutely true.
Right, because what happens is now we used to say lower it. Remember during our first independence when we used to look at Parliament and any one of them could be government, any one of them could be prime minister, any one of them. And it's amazing now. We have leadership today who go in thing. Go down Parliament.
I want people to say express favoritism to you, but I need you to explain that.
Let me say this. Go downtown, put a mic in the front of the 41 individuals.
They go all high.
No, listen to this one thing. I want to listen. Except for Michael Pintard and Brave Davis, right? Put a mic in the front of the other 39 and ask them, do you want to be prime minister? And they'll give you an excuse as to why, well, I ain't this, and we have a lead and everything. The question is, in the Parliament, you're supposed to be first among equals, as opposed to not have a desire to lead. You can respect the leadership, but they will come up with all different type of excuses because we have reduced the level that almost every Tom, Dick, and Harry believe that they can be an MP or govern our country. You'll see any one of them. You could change the name from Linden Tinlin and put the Turnquest or put Arthur Folks or any one of their names, and they could have very well served in the capacity or Hannah. You understand? And the problem is today you have to look in Parliament and begin to say that one makes the most noise, so he'll make a good leader. That's the problem we have.
My second question, just before I let you go, CA, is how I get a lot of flack for this. My second question, is the Bahamian dream dead?
No, but you have to go to sleep to experience it.
Thank you.
So that's the thing, is that we need to talk about what the Bahamian dream actually is, because it's not home ownership. It's actually opportunity and ownership.
That's why I said at the beginning of the show, coming up.
And that's not dead.
Yeah.
What is not dead is that the people no longer know the new tools that's available because they've been taught that you dig holes with shovel, not a backhoe.
Thank you. And I had to let CA go on because CA, he's a very, very learned person. He understands the issues of this country more so than a lot of people. I wish he would offer himself up for public office at some point. I wish we persons in this community could give him a chance to execute some of these ideas. But he brings home a really, really huge point. And that's why I fixed the question at the beginning of the show, at the top of the show, the way I did, is our politics we're dying for. And he was able to walk around it and understand the bigger question. Is our country we're dying for? And when you look at the issue from that standpoint, you understand greatly. We got a place that we got to fight for. This home. Me and independencies in this home. Call you on with the forum. Go ahead.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
I made a comment some time ago about Sea Island 52, and there's another fella that comes on. I don't know why the University of the Bahamas, right?
Mr. Sparky, I know where you going with this. I could give you the space. I just want to say.
Okay.
Don't.
They should have them come and spend about 2 hours or 3 hours to certain classes.
Uh-huh.
And even if they're wrong, the children will be able to correct them and learn from them. Let these fellas, because they talk more sense than the politicians. Let them go up there and use their brain and express their ideas. And the people here got to realize we got brains here, you know.
Yep.
So why are you so scared to let them give the certain classes a day? They got half a day to go there, prepare a lesson or discussion, depending on where the course is on.
Yeah, because
and let them express certain things.
But when you let them express, they can outshine some of these politicians.
Going to go and research.
Yeah.
And learn more about these things. It looks like we don't want to use our own people. We rather pay somebody. They normally call it a committee or council, somebody to come over here and pay them $1 million to say the same thing what these fellas to say.
All right.
Why?
I guess it's just the way we are as Bahamians.
And you want me to go fight for them?
I don't want you to fight for them. I want you to fight for the country. So I
No,
got.
I mean fight for. Well, I'm fighting for them. 'Cause now, if they go ahead of me and put me on the back line, I'll go. And because I ain't coming back here to go to Princess Margaret with a bullet in my chest, a knife in my back, and sit in the hospital for 2 to 3 days before a doctor see me.
So I got to ask Sparky. Our politics were dying for?
No. Because first thing, if you get hurt out there, you can't get medical care. They put you on the public ward. I mean, you got to wait 2 days to see the doctor.
Wow.
And then you got a bullet near your heart and a dagger in your back. And probably a bomb exploded near your leg. You got shrapnel in your leg. And they tell you, hold on till the doctor comes see you. No. If they go ahead, because they love to fly and visit countries, put them on the front line and put me to the back, and I may go.
And then my second question, Sparky, is the Bahamian dream alive and well, or is the Bahamian dream dead and gone?
No. We working for nothing now. We don't... Listen, most of the money a Bahamian makes now, let's say we may keep about... Let's say those of us who are doing things and saving money, we may keep about 5% of our money. And we got to live off of that, go to the doctors and all of that, and see if we could live an extra day. No. They're not showing us they can. The children in school, you don't have teachers for them. The police, they can't get their ways to motivate them. The doctors are not motivated. Nobody going with them. They let them. They should go right now and practice in Israel or Ukraine.
Thank you, Sparky. It's a mouthful. I get texts right now. People like me up for letting CA go on. Like I say, I allowed CA to go on because I needed him to address a particular point relative to Grand Bahama. And I think it's going to be a part of a show that we have coming up in a couple of weeks where we take a deep dive or a deep look at the Port Authority Agreement, the Hawksbill Creek Agreement, I should say, the agreement that gave way to what the Port Authority actually is in Grand Bahama. And that's going to then bridge off onto a topic that we have the following week, which is all about local government. So I'm not trying to show favoritism to Sea Island. The idea there is to allow persons to understand or to see knowledge. So I invite everybody under the sound of my voice, those listening. If you don't know much about the Hawksbill Creek Agreement, take some time, read it. It's a bit of a long document, but take some time and read it. Get an understanding of where the Bahamas was at that time. What was the sole intent of Freeport? What the target, what the aim was at that time, what our government was seeking to do. And then use that and look at New Providence through the knowledge. Look at some of our other family islands through the lens of that newfound knowledge. And then it could paint a better picture of where we are as a country. So just take the time and go and read it. But we have just under 20 minutes left on the show, so we just want to run through a couple of more text messages. This country is not worth dying for. It is filled with entitled, I can use that phrase. I can skip one word, barbarians, who will never appreciate your sacrifice. But y'all cold-hearted, boy. Okay, this is a problem. This is a problematic text, so we're just going to leave that one out. So if you want to get in the last few minutes of the show, again, telephone lines are open. 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. Toll free from the Family Islands at 242-300-5720. Text lines are also active. 422-GR96. That's 422-4796. I have another text just going back to the topic on freedom of information and the need for transparency, addressing the Eric Gardner. Basically telling me I have all rights to call the name. No, you missed my sarcasm there. It's not that I am afraid of calling the name. I'm pointing to the fact that persons in the House of Assembly tried to sell us on the idea or make us believe that calling that name is impossible. I have no fear calling the name. I have all the fear in the world of what that name has done to our country, society, and the role that we all need to play in correcting those wrongs and trying to get this country back to a place where our politics and our country is worth dying for. So I want persons to understand there's no fear in calling that name. There's no fear in addressing that matter. And I think we all need to have that same concept, that same belief that it takes all of us to, fix the wrongs in our society. Just going over some more. Wow, hold on. We have another text. given that CAFCA and other international AML assessment bodies are in country all year doing a jurisdictional assessment, would you expect the government to have a better, more transparent response to this? If not, they are damaging the nation internationally and our financial services industry. Okay, I'll take a look at the article, Texter. Are you familiar with Nicolette Bethel article on Bohemian Dream? Yeah. Oh, okay. Yes, I am very familiar with this. In fact, I would love at some point in the future sit down with Miss Nicolette Bethel on this issue, because her work on this topic kind of shaped my outlook when I went into the University of the Bahamas in 2009. I first came across some of her writings, her and Mr. Ian Strawn, and those pieces kind of shaped my national identity or my belief, because at that time they were going off to school and a lot of them was like, you know, I ain't coming back. So when I read pieces like that, it gave me a belief, it gave me the inspiration to say that this is a country that is not only worth staying in, but a country worth, you know, working to develop. Because during my time in high school and then my later on time at the college, there was not a lot of national pride. It simply was not something taught at the high school level. It's something that you had to go out and seek. You heard the tremendous stories about years gone. You heard the stories about the government high school and all of these sorts of things. We needed at that time to bring that kind of vigor back. And I think over time it has gone in the opposite direction. And we're still waiting to see a proper return to that. Getting back to the text line. Why do we allow the administration to tell us all kinds of fairy tale nonsense on reference to what we can and cannot do? Herschel Walker responded to Fred Mitchell and the speaker, Mrs. Patricia DeVoe's allegations that the affidavit submitted to a court of law was frivolous gossip. What we should be asking is, why are the Minister of Foreign Affairs so passionate in their efforts to shut us up? I have a point to make on this, and I started to make this a couple of weeks back on Morning Blend. I want Bahamian people, when they address this matter, to do one or two things. If we uncover any involvement by any of our parliamentarians with this matter or any connection to this matter, are we prepared to demand the removal of that person from the House of Assembly? If not, we don't need to discuss this matter any further. If not, we don't need to discuss this matter any further. Because if we're going to carry on and we're going to go back and forth with this, and we're going to have these feelings and have these, you know, positions on this, we have to be prepared to call not only for resignations, but we have to be prepared and be ready to ensure that these persons never return to the House. We need to set an example. We need to, and this is the only way to go about it. Because the idea shouldn't be for us to go through these matters or go through these issues as we come up on a commercial break. It's not for us to go through these matters and just see them as, problems that exist. Now, we got to be ready to call for complete change. We got to be ready to call for, you know, improvements and new direction. And the only way to do this is to hold our parliamentarians accountable. I said that morning on Morning Blend that we see people all the time in the UK and Canada, all of these other places that have parliamentary democracies. We see people resign for less. And it's time we hold our government's feet to the fire the same way. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we get back from the break, we're going to wrap up the show for the day. Thank you for joining the forum.
Yeah. Rockefeller, we invite you to something epic, you know? Where we hustle out of a sense of hopelessness, sort of a desperation. Through that desperation, we come addicted, sort of like the fiends we accustomed to serving. Where we feel we have nothing to lose, so we offer you, we offer our lives. What do you bring to the table? everyone watching me closely. My is butter for the bread, they wanna toast me. I keep my head
Roll with the best. For all your printing needs, there ain't no one better, no. For posters and banners, magazines and flyers. For window decals, greeting cards and newsletters. No job too big and there's no job too small. You name it, we can print it. Just give us a call. Let Print Masters bring your masterpiece to life.
Located in the Nassau Guardian Building, telephone 302-2361.
Always on the go? Missed a show? You can now listen to Guardian Radio talk shows anytime, anywhere on Spotify and YouTube by searching Guardian Radio 96.9 FM or by entering the name of your favorite show. You can also listen by logging on to GuardianTalkRadio.com and clicking on the podcast tab. Guardian Radio, continuing to provide you with fresh news and smart talk anywhere, anytime, all day.
Headed to South Florida soon? Holiday Inn Express in Plantation welcomes you to the heartbeat of Florida fun. Whether it's business or pleasure, the Holiday Inn Express is close to sensational shopping, captivating dining, and nightlife. Elevate your Florida experience. Sleep well and rest easy at Holiday Inn Express. Complimentary breakfast buffet featuring seasonal favorites. Keep up your fitness routine in our 24-hour on-site fitness center with cardio equipment and free weights. Or your special Bahamas tourist rate awaits. Holiday Inn Express, 1701 North University Drive, in Plantation. Book your getaway now. Call directly at 954-472-5600 or the sales department for reservations and additional information. This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, streaming on GuardianTalkRadio.com and the Guardian Radio app, Nassau, Bahamas.
Nine six and forever. Rock a block, Rockefeller.
I'm feeling it. Feel the bash at the top of my way. Feel the legs pushing up on the sand. Feel the high that you get from the line. If you feel it,
I keep it realer than most. I know you're feeling it. Cause so nice. I like the toast.
Welcome back to the forum. Live and direct on a Saturday afternoon here in Nassau, Bahamas. Again, this is the first show. I'm happy to be in studio today again. Thank you to the family over at Guardian Radio for giving me this opportunity. Telephone and text lines are open, 323-6232, 325-4316. 325-4300-5720. Our text line is 422-GR96 or 422-4796. Standard text rates apply. Again, we're in the final 15. We're going to wrap it up here. Just going through some more text messages as we come to a close. If up to the first among equals was found to be consorting with the Colombian cartel, put him on a plane with one-way ticket to the U.S. court. Okay. I would like leadership of political parties or institutions to challenge what C. Allen says, not political fanatics, sycophants, who say he causes their head to hurt when he speaks, then spend hours digesting his 5-minute or less contribution saying it was long. His speeches are short, but that long period they experience is him forcing them to think. He is new to me because of Guardian Radio, but I understand he has been talking on radio as long as Sparky and others for over 20 years. Y'all really trying to start unnecessary text beefs, but okay, to each its own. You think the U.S. government has the capability of bringing down a big or small plane? Oh boy, y'all trying to cause other issues. Keep the text line going. I gotta laugh something else off. Boy, when Bahamas get y'all playful bad though. Good afternoon, Mr. Wells. I agree with the FIFA inspection from the earlier conversation because there are a lot of vehicles on the roads with cracked windshields, side mirrors off, front grills out, parking lights broken, etc. Like, where are the rules and regulations in this town? They don't exist. They don't exist, Dexter. Then again, there are persons that know persons who work in road traffic, and they just drop off their documents to their people without taking the vehicles, and boom, they get their inspections for a couple of dollars. So it's who you know, and that's a fact. Boy, Texter, I can't disagree with you because I've seen it. I wish we had song effects on the radio. I would have loved to play the song. I seen him do it because I've seen this actually played out with my own eyes. So yeah, we have those sorts of situations, and when I see it, I often say, if everybody gets the special treatment, then nobody is special. So if everybody gets this sort of, behind the scenes access, then there is no behind the scenes. Everything is just public knowledge. And I want the persons that break our laws and facilitate these sorts of actions to think about it like that. I came up in a time, and I could date myself with this. One of my favorite movies as a child was The Incredibles. And there's a line in there by the villain. If everyone is super, then nobody is. Don't laugh at me. It's I like that movie. But that said, that always stuck with me. And I always use that, and I use that to look at what corruption is in this country. If the corruption is for all, by all, then it isn't corruption no more. It's the status quo. And if it's the status quo, then what are we living in? Where are we? Where are we as a society? A couple of more texts here. Smiling emoji. It's nice that the plane came down on election day in U.S. waters for the Coast Guard to pick them up and not Basra. Boy, I've been asking this for a couple of weeks because I ain't no pilot, but I know for you to come from Abaco, you got to fly over Freeport. Yeah, you leave Abaco to get to Freeport. I know how you get on the next side of Freeport. But hey, to each its own. I ain't trying to, muddy the water. I ain't trying to get in no trouble. Another text talking about the crisis we have at the hospital. My brother went for dialysis yesterday. He said he went on the machine after 1 p.m. The power went off and the generator did not kick in. He said they called head office and they advised to take him off the machine and told him to take it easy on the weekend. And see, again, that's life in debt. That's life in debt. To tell him to take it easy on the weekend, as if that treatment isn't life-saving. See, that sort of stuff, it aggravates me. It aggravates me because when we talk about elections and we talk about voting persons into office, these are the sorts of things that we need to think about when we elect governments. These are the sorts of issues, not what on the grill, not who got the cold drinks, not where the party could be, not if the shirt looked nice, none of that. Think about your friends and colleagues and family members and on dialysis that need that life-saving care. One of my favorite contributors on Guardian Radio, Grammy Boy. I know a couple of months back there was some stuff circulating that he had to relocate to the U.S. because he's on dialysis as well for proper care because of the lack of proper care here. So when we vote, these are the sorts of things that we have to think about. These are the sorts of things that we need to monitor. And like I said, coming to a close today, I want persons to remember that this is a country worth fighting for. This is a country worth dying for. And it's time that we establish politics that is worth living and dying for. That we establish a society that we all could be proud of. That we establish rules and regulations that make life better and easy for all of us. That we don't sit around and just wait for the next tragic story or the next heartbreaking tale. That we sit around and we wait for the next round of good news. The next round of happiness. The next round of, oh, my son graduated. The next round of, my daughter just went off to college. The next round of, she just got a degree. That sort of stuff. And our front pages are not just filled with sad stories. This is the space we have to get into when we get into that booth and we start to cast these votes. And I commend running one of the best campaigns that I myself have seen in my lifetime. And I commend them on being reelected for the first time in nearly 3 decades to be the first party to do so. And I commend them, as much people out there criticize it, I commend them for the amount of persons that they have appointed to the cabinet. And I commend them for their Senate selections. I commend them because despite it all, they are the government. They are my government. And with all of those hefty goals that they have set, I want to see them achieve each and every one. I want them to be so successful that we're now talking about them being reelected, possibly for the third time. But with all that power comes responsibility. And I'll be the first one in line to say, we're going to hold this government accountable, and we're going to do it through a platform just like this. And remember that this platform was developed, it was crafted, it was built out for the idea of giving every Bahamian out there who chooses to listen 11 to 1 p.m. on Guardian Radio every Saturday the opportunity to let their voice be heard, to allow their voice to be a part of this great platform called the Forum, to bring the ideas to the collective table, and we find a way to craft a way forward for our country. And last but not least, I want to say, and I want to leave our listeners with this, I don't think that the Bahamian dream is dead and gone. I don't think that the Bahamian dream is deferred. I have my vision of what the Bahamian dream is, or what I want it to be. I'm pretty sure each of you feel the same way. I want us to work together as a society to ensure that the generation behind me and the generation behind them actually have something to aspire to. That their version of the Bahamian dream is. Again, thank you for joining me today. This has been The Forum with yours truly, Ricardo Wells. Can't wait to see you next week.
Transactions illegitimate, cause life is still a trick. And then you die, but for now, love, we live life, the chillerist. Since diapers had nothing to live for, like them lifers up, making sure everybody get a slice of the pie we dice up. We paid the price to circle us success, they turn my mic up. I'm about to hit the world with some game that light your life up. If every player in your clique is rich, your clique is rugged. Nobody will fall, cause everyone will be each other's crutches. I hope you fools choose to listen, I drop jewels, bust it. These are the rules I follow in my life, you gotta love it. Jiggy jigger looking gully in the joint. If y'all brothers ain't talking about large money, come on, money.
Feel the passion, it's time away. Feel the legs pushing up on the sand. Feel the high that you get from the line. If you feel it really
Will we ever do it big or just keep settling for look? We brag on having bread, but none of us are bakers. We all talk having greens, but none of us own acres. If none of us own acres and none of us grow wheat, then who will feed our people when our people need to eat? So it seems our people starve from lack of dancing. As we talking about our car and imaginary mansions, we should be indicted for bull we inciting. Telling children deaf and pretending it's exciting. We are advertisements for agony and pain. We exploit the youth, we tell them to join the gang. We tell them dope stories, introduce them to the gang. Just like Oliver North introduced us to cocaine in the 80s when them bricks came on military plane.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, streaming on GuardianTalkRadio.com and the Guardian Radio app, Nassau, Bahamas.
AP News for Friday, July 3rd. I'm Ben Thomas. The excitement's been high in New York City.
I feel like this is the American royal wedding at this point. Yeah.
Allison Heinen talking about the wedding of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, as was Amanda Powell.
We came all the way from Little Rock, Arkansas, just to celebrate Taylor's wedding and congratulate her.
Swift's publicist has confirmed the ceremony did in fact take place Friday evening at Madison Square Garden. No bridesmaids or groomsmen. Swift's brother was her maid of honor, and Kelce's brother Jason his best man. Fan Brittany McCusker says,
so much is going on in the world. Everybody needs a little excitement. We're huge Taylor Swift fans.
Extreme heat in the eastern U.S. has curtailed some festivities marking the nation's 250th birthday. The Great American State Fair on the National Mall in Washington shut down for a few hours Friday afternoon.
Yes, we are having a lot of heat-related illnesses. People are just dropping.
Overseas, Iran begins a multi-day funeral Saturday for the late Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. And Jennifer King reports,
President Trump has, as the U.S. president threatens to scale back America's role in NATO and Europe, he has offered only praise for the summit's host, Turkish President Recep Erdogan.
I'm going out of respect to President Erdogan.
The personal element matters, but it is also an instrument for both leaders.
Dr. Seren Selvin Korkmaz is the co-director at Istanbul Institute.
His friendship with President Erdogan is useful because Turkey is a NATO ally with military capacity, regional leverage, and growing defense industry.
The warm ties between the two leaders mean the U.S. might sell jet engines and potentially F-35 fighter jets to Turkey, something that's been barred for years because of Turkey's closeness to Russia.
He's a strong member of NATO. Yeah, I'm going to probably do something that's going to make him very happy.
The two-day NATO summit starts July 7th in Ankara. I'm Jennifer King.
This is AP News. It's whale watching season in Brazil. Rio de Janeiro's Guanabara Bay always boasts postcard scenery, but this time of year, had humpback whales. In the 40 years since commercial whaling was halted, their numbers have grown. Biologist Pedro Froesch of the Humpback Whales Project says from 2000 to 1988 to 35,000 last year. The group estimates that's close to the amount before commercial whaling began. And that's prompting a boom for whale watching excursions, especially now during their annual migration. It takes them through Brazilian waters between June and November, journeys of some 2,500 miles from feeding grounds in the Southern Ocean to breeding and calving grounds off northeastern Brazil. The latest through the weekend at apnews.com. I'm Ben Thomas. Thanks for listening.
This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news.